Hello, everyone. Let's give everyone a few more minutes to join for this session. Good morning, all. On behalf of Royal Sabre, I extend a warm welcome to all participants joining today for the live discussion Unlock the Power of Personalization with Coveo AI for SAP Commerce. We are excited to have you here and eager to delve into the fascinating world of AI driven personalized search in SAP Commerce. Let's make this discussion insightful and engaging. This is Abdul Wahab, Director of Technology from Royal Sabre, and with me is Sergio Iacobucci, Senior Director from Coveo. Hello, Sergio. How are you doing today? Could you please brief or introduce yourself to the audience?
Yeah, of course. Hi. I'm very excited to be here. So thank you, Abdul. Um, I'm Sergio. I'm the Senior Director of E-commerce Marketing at Coveo, and got just over a decade of experience in the world of e-commerce, working with some of the largest brands in the world on their e-commerce strategy in lots of different ways, but largely when it comes down to their customer experience. So now from a Coveo perspective, very excited to talk about the search and product discovery solutions that we have in concurrence with SAP.
Thanks for being here. We are excited to have you here. Let's kick off the discussion. What are the primary motivations for organizations to integrate Coveo with SAP Commerce? And how does these integrations benefit them in terms of customer experience?
Sure. So there are quite a few different ways in which Coveo helps from an SAP Commerce perspective in kind of leveling up the customer experience as a whole. But if we just kind of go back to the point of, what implementations are in place when you take SAP Commerce out of the box to get moving quickly, because that's always the point as soon as a project kicks off. Usually what the case is there is things like the search are powered effectively by Solar. And it's great because it gets things moving, gets you started, but it kind of falls short when it comes to creating a great customer experience. So the examples that we tend to speak about is that it seems to struggle with typos. It needs really exact terms to match your queries to relevant suggestions, and then it does very little in the way of personalization and recommendations. So it falls short in kind of like, in our opinion, that standard entry level foundation. But then as business requirements become more complex, and that is especially the case if we're talking about a B2B business, then Solar really starts to struggle to that point. And it gets to the point where there needs to be quite a lot of extensive training, a lot of best practices put in place with DevOps to handle that for the needs of the business. So on the flip side, what Coveo brings to the table is a very different world to that. So we make it very simple with the use of our AI of handling this complexity that a lot of businesses have with ease. So we personalize the customer experience from end to end, and we use AI to make that possible. We call it the AI experience advantage, and we apply these models across the customer journey. So it'll be from very early stage product discovery all the way through to purchase, and then beyond purchase as well when it comes to them trying to use how-to guides and things and using the product itself.
That's great. I mean, I'm able to relate, my 13 plus years of SAP experience with the out of the box Solar, right? So what kind of difficulties we always face with the, customers, especially a number of B2B customers as well, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good to know that. Can you share some real world examples of organizations that have successfully integrated Coveo with SAP Commerce and the specific benefits they have realized from these integrations, right?
Yeah, of course. Obviously, we can't speak to all of them, but in terms of what we can speak to, we have a really, really great roster of enterprise SAP customers using Coveo to effectively just level up their search, their product discovery, and their AI capabilities across the business. These brands are the likes of Nespresso, Philips, Rolex, Dell, Cardinal Health, and Blackwoods, just some examples. And as you can tell from that list, we work across both B2C and B2B. B2B has that really nice complexity to it that we enjoy at Coveo. We like that challenge. and stepping up to that challenge. But for instance, in the B2C world for Nespresso, we're live in 21 countries in 14 different languages. So you can imagine what that does to complexity and having all of the catalogs in those languages, and that we could even be more now than that number. And we basically ensure that their search and their product discovery and personalization exceeds the needs of their customers and their expectations to make sure they always find what they're looking for. But it's interesting with Nespresso as well. For anyone that's used the website, you're not always looking for a product, a machine, some coffee, accessories, etc. We also power the entire customer experience in the sense of making sure that they can also find content that's relevant to what they're looking for. They might be looking for a guide or a manual or something in relation to a machine. So we make sure we power that as well and identify those customers and show them the right information. From another example, Philips, very much the same story. You're searching for products, you're searching for guides, you're looking through manuals, and Philips have seen a 2.3% increase in conversion, which, as you can imagine, for a business as big as Philips, totals a very significant amount of revenue over an entire year or lifetime engagement with a solution like Coveo.
Oh, that's good to know that Coveo supports this many languages, because we have a number of customers using different the global sites with the different languages, which is definitely will helpful, and definitely it will bring more conversion rates to the customers as well. What are the key features and functionalities that Coveo brings to the table when integrated with SAP Commerce?
Sure. So in terms of what we bring to the table that you could see from the outside, as it were, the end user experience, we effectively layer 10 very powerful AI models together to achieve really, really strong results when it comes to click-throughs, relevancy, conversion, average order value, etc., across the key areas you probably would expect from the things that I've said already. So powering our AI search, navigation, listings pages, product recommendations, and then more recently, things like generative answering, powered by Gen AI. So what you won't see is the things in the background that power that. So if you went on one of our customers' sites, you wouldn't see how we get to that point, because it's very difficult, as you would know. Having that foundation in place is the only way you can layer AI on top and actually have accurate and a good experience for a customer. So we've got really, really brilliant unified indexing capabilities, which basically can deal with very, very extreme levels of complexity around product, but then also things around pricing. We'll see in B2B very frequently that there's sometimes a pricing book catalog per customer, because every customer has a different price point negotiated. And then also on top of that is all of the content. So that can be B2C content in the sense of, trends, fashion trends, how you should style certain things together, or more in the middle, like how-to guides of how do I build a deck, how do I build an outside barbecue. But then if you go all the way to the B2B side, there's specific documents that have to be listed alongside products, spec sheets, safety sheets, manuals. So we index all of that so that that's all unified together, so that we can bring the right thing to the customer at the right time. So we do all of that, but then the bit that enables a business to have control of that situation is the business user's merchandising UI. And there they can test and learn about what works and what doesn't using our A/B testing and our stats models, and then pull data, tune models for outputs in terms of their business needs so that they align with what they want them to do. So there's a lot of different angles, but end user experience is the search, the listings, navigations, recommendations, and generative answering. But in the background, there's a lot that the business can use that's very powerful in terms of tooling to control all of that.
Well, very good to know that. I mean, it's a lot of features. I mean, I'm able to see that the models, AI models, which is supports and unified indexing, definitely those two features can enable a lot more personalized content to the customers as well, right? And additionally, Gen AI features, which is nowadays trend in the market, definitely it can bring a lot of values to the customers as well. What are the problems do you think help solve with these features, right? So to the customers,
Yeah. So I'll split that in terms of B2B and B2C. So because obviously it depends on what the needs are of the business, right? And then we can do some broad stroke categorization like that. So if you're in B2B, we make sure that your very complex catalog and pricing rules don't get in the way of a great product discovery experience.
Right.
And it's very possible that with your current solution, could be Solar, and it could also not be Solar, there will be a lot of rules in place to make sure you can create the experience you're trying to create. You're putting patches over your
Exactly.
search
Yeah.
product discovery to make that possible. So what we do is we help you remove all of those, because those add a layer of complexity that you don't want. There's natural complexity to a business anyway. You don't need to add hundreds of rules on top of something, because it means things can fall over. So we remove that and instead allow the AI that we have to make those decisions for you. It doesn't mean you lose all control. Still let you control merchandising elements, but you let the AI do the groundwork, the hard work, and make sure people see the right things at scale. So all in all, what that means, if people are searching for very specific parts, we make sure that they're discoverable. And then we recommend the best parts to go with those in the purchase, like any salesperson would. And then we serve up relevant content along the way that's important to that customer's journey. So that's B2B. B2C, we achieve a lot of that, and sometimes we find B2C businesses that feel like a B2B one because of the level of complexity and the amount of categories they have and products. So still very possible. But instead, the pains seem to be in there more around enhancing the personalization capabilities to make the end user experience so much better, and to make more of the catalog. And what I mean by that is not just showcase the popular products or the stuff that sells really well. Search and product discovery engine like Coveo needs to also showcase the long tail of products, because they're the ones that tend to go on discount. It needs to showcase the cold start products, the stuff that's just come in, rather than waiting ages and ages for these things to work their way into the models and all the way up to being recommended. So we like to make things discoverable as soon as possible, and effectively the system will learn based on what it's showing and the engagement and the purchases, what works. And then we make sure that we make suggestions to customers during their search that are intelligent and relevant as well. So that could be a suggestion of a recommendation or an upsell, along the journey. But then we also try and bring a bit more of the omni-channel experience to the fore. So we've helped a lot of B2C businesses put their in-store inventory information into the listings page, so that people can filter by what's in stock in my local store, so they know they could go and pick it up today. So it really joins up that online and offline experiences. But again, the same thing applies in terms of all of those rules. Can remove them and let AI do most of the work, and then just control where you need to from a merchandising perspective.
That's great. It's going to reduce a lot of pain to the business, right? So they don't need to write a lot of rules for those, and AI is doing background, and also it's controllable, right? So the people can configure as well. That's good to know that. Sergio, one of the primary advantage of this integration is improving search and personalization, right? Can you elaborate on how Covio's AI-driven search and personalization capabilities enhance the customer's journey and increase conversions rates?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we've got actual examples of this in real life, but I'll put a scenario to you of like a B2C retailer, just to kind of bring it to life. So let's imagine we have a big multi-category sports retailer, and one of the key things they want to do is improve their search and their personalization. And for us, those things come hand in hand. So if they are this kind of retailer, they can have people coming onto their site and searching what to them will feel like enough information. But actually, if you knew all of the products across the entire store, it's a very generic query. So let's say they just put in gloves. Now that search gloves could be in relation to skiing, golf, or even boxing. So how do you ensure the customer sees the right thing and you suggest even the right queries at that moment, and then give them the right results, and then recommend the right stuff if they've just put gloves in. So this is where Coveo's deep learning capabilities step in, and they understand where within the product catalog that customer is most likely sitting right now. So that could be from a cold start perspective, but it also could be, and to be honest, this is my biggest frustration, is when websites don't adapt to me engaging with them. And I think every customer feels the same. But say you've been on a journey already, and you've already looked at a load of the golf stuff, or a separate person has already looked at the load of the boxing stuff. We can identify where that customer sits in the space of the catalog based on what they've browsed, what they've shown intent towards, and what they're most likely going to be interested in. So it's effectively like plotting that person within this huge space of products that are all interconnected in some way. We try and plot them, and there's very technical terms for how you can do that, but effectively we're trying to find where they sit within that catalog is the easiest way to say it. And we can do that even when they haven't logged in. So we're able to identify them, keep them identified, and it's utilizing those product vector capabilities. We serve up real-time changes to that customer to ensure they have a really great experience. So if they have browsed golf or they have browsed boxing, when they type gloves, it's very obvious what they should see when you know where they sit within the vector space. A lot of searches don't do that today, unfortunately. And so it's that kind of experience that I think is a basic customer expectation. But a lot of the time, people aren't meeting those. So you can have this personalization world where two customers who've had very different journeys also get very different experiences, suggestions, results, recommendations from this system, be it in this case Coveo, just off one term, which could be gloves. And that's where we are trying to make the difference to things becoming truly personalized, in session, real time, react to what you're doing, versus wait until a batch upload in a few hours or whatever. That's just not going to work.
That's right. I mean, so I love to be more personalized. When I search some products, I'm expecting the products which is related to my previous experience or previous search or all those always. That's true. So yeah. So the self-service is one of the significant aspect of e-commerce, right? So how does Coveo SAP Commerce integrations improve self-service capabilities, and what impact does it have on reducing support cost and increasing customer satisfactions?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So this is a really important part. It's easily forgotten about when everyone's just hell-bent on let's get conversions in, increase average order values. At the end of the day, true revenue growth comes from satisfied customers and increasing customer lifetime value. So there is always a broader strategy around that everyone gets pulled into, like the day-to-day tactics. So this is the point where you can make or break the relationship with the customer. They always say that when someone's had a problem, you can turn that person into a massive advocate of the brand if you deal with that problem really well and really fast and solve their issue, or you can turn them into a complete detractor by making them frustrated by the experience they had after they've spent money with you and have loads of buyer's regret and tell a lot more people that they were unhappy versus happy. So it's something to avoid. And Coveo is an AI platform, right? So we don't only have the commerce arm to our software. We also have a big business where we help people serve customers better through our service arm of our business. So it's the same AI platform that powers both, e-com and service, and just pulling from what's available within that. And to answer your question, we help people increase the amount of case deflection that they can do. So that's where the strategies come up there, because we're trying to drive that service cost down as much as possible, but keep the experience really high and performant. We don't really want people to log a ticket if they can self-serve. So if someone does go to the support part of a website that's Coveo powered, and they go to file a support ticket, we will use those same recommendations capabilities, those same content indexing capabilities to showcase the relevant content that might solve that person's problem. So they get it solved faster rather than logging a ticket, but it also means that case gets deflected. And we hope that it solves the issues that they have. But even further than that, and then going into what is the present day, but it will feel like the future to everyone, is using generative AI is a really key aspect of service, especially in those situations, but then also commerce, and we'll get onto that a bit later. But that enables someone who needs an answer that feels unique to their current situation, to get a true answer from the business on how to deal with the situation that they're in. So they can get support a lot faster. It can be personalized to them completely through generative answering, because there's a response to them without costing the business any personnel time. And that's what we do in the service space that works extremely well. And we're really, really proud of the work we've done there.
Yeah, very good to know that about self-service model as well, right? So, and additionally, I mean, data and analytics, that is essential for understanding customer behavior, right? Can you explain how that integrations between Coveo and SAP Commerce help business leverage customers' data to make informed decision and optimize their e-commerce strategies?
Yeah, so Coveo uses all of the behavioral data from in-session customers. So someone comes onto the website, we immediately start collecting data, and we collect it from page to page, click to click, and it is effectively stored forever. Obviously people can ask for things to be deleted. That's the world we live in, and that's absolutely fine. But most people don't. So that's effectively stored forever, meaning that we can personalize to that customer at any point in their journey, and update our interaction with them based on the most recent information. So that's your query suggestion update or a new recommendation, but those are all in the moment. They are real time. They change from page to page, within reason, but they change page to page depending on what you're doing. So it's that element of like the behavioral data that we collect from the SAP site itself, but we collect that first party, utilize it in our data systems and in our AI modeling. Specific to you. Then we have a series of e-commerce specific dashboards that showcase things like revenue uplifts associated with Coveo, alongside all the standard e-commerce KPIs you would expect, total revenue, transactions, conversion rates, click-through rates, top selling products, average click rank, the stuff that people need to be able to make decisions and see what's working within the business and what isn't. In terms of, the business becoming as data driven as possible, and this is like the area that I think is the most exciting, outside of the AI modeling, is making sure that people have the ability to test and learn as fast as possible and can't work out what the best version of something should be. And that's where the A/B testing capabilities from the merchandising hub come into, Coveo's offering. So in that merch hub, we encourage businesses to test their ideas, test one recommendation strategy against another, or another rule against another. If you want to put a rule in place, don't just put that rule out there, because you don't know the impact it's going to have on conversion rate or average order value or revenue per visitor, which are key metrics. You can even test what product placements work best in what order, and you then can find what genuinely drives an uplift. And that's actually quite liberating for some people who are constantly told what to change, and they just change it and they don't know if it's impacting revenue. A/B test your way to a decision rather than just going with the flow. But those stats also to give extra confidence to people, and so they can really feel like they're making data driven decisions, are all passed through our really rigorous stats engine. And that means that when you're making a decision, you can make it with a lot of confidence based on the results that you're getting from Coveo.
Got it. Yeah. So that's one of the great tool, basically, right? Report dashboard and A/B testing is give a lot of insight into the business, right? Basically. Mm-hmm. So I like those features. I have used few of our customers as well, right? So so with the changing landscape of e-commerce, how does the Coveo SAP Commerce integrations adapt to emerging trends and technologies to ensure that business remain competitive in the market? Right. So now every customers need that, right? So to adapt the latest technologies, what is market trends, right?
Of course. And we've been investing in AI now for over a decade, and our founders saw the future in terms of where experiences need to go as a whole to meet customer expectation, and the only way you can scale that, which is AI. So AI is such a fundamental part of your question because it's the battleground right now for most businesses in e-commerce. So cast your mind back 10 years. We've worked really closely with our customers to build out the right models in the right way in a scalable fashion, that are cost effective, so that you can put the right models in the right places along the customer journey. And so because we've evolved in this space, we have no choice but other than to be at the forefront of innovation when it comes to AI. We have to, because this space moves so fast. And just to kind of show that we really are, we've won awards for this in the past. An example is the AI Breakthrough Award, where we won the best use of LLM application. And that is in a space that is generative AI. It's so hot with so many people doing things. I suppose the difference with Coveo is that we're actually implementing these at enterprise scale versus people building software, but it may be not being used yet, or it's not being used at any significant scale. That's the different thing with Coveo, and hence why SAP wanted to partner with us, and we wanted to get into a great partnership with them, is because we know how to do this at scale. To win an award like that in a space that's so hot we're very proud of it. It's amazing. So, yes, when you buy Coveo, you're buying the software, you're buying the technology, you're buying like the immediate things that are coming out in the roadmap. But we like to say to people, you're also subscribing to innovation in the space of AI. We take that worry away from our customers, because we have to be obsessed with it because it's our business. So we do that. We bring those to the customer, and then they adopt them as they choose to and apply them to the customer experience.
That's great. So, I mean, I personally use that GenAI features with Coveo. I really like that, actually. So we are also trying to include that features part of our composable commerce package we are developing with SAP Commerce by integrating Coveo. So we try to include that part of our package as well, right? So thanks, Sergio, for to bring that the information. Well, see, there are few customers. They have dilemma kind of feel like whether Coveo is suited for my business. I would like to understand what businesses are most suited to Coveo and will get the most from the relationship, right?
Yeah. So probably obvious from some of the stuff that I've said already, but the large enterprise is where Coveo will fit best. We're built for scale, for high level security, and to handle the business's extreme complexity that can come our way. So it's the larger enterprises that will feel the biggest boost from not having all of those elements and issues kind of shackle them, and therefore they can't get anything done. They can't make any changes. The experience just stays stagnant. That doesn't happen with Coveo. So we say that the enterprise businesses feel the biggest difference when they move over to Coveo versus their incumbent tool. But alongside sort of the enterprise as a whole, and to be more specific, we've had really strong success and growth within the B2B space. Again, it's our ability to handle complexity that I think is a natural fit there. And I've explained those complexities before, but it's like your spare parts, automotive parts, electronics and hardware, or pharmaceutical products and distribution, fit really well in those spaces. But generically, you can say large catalog, different prices, different regions and geographies is a good space for Coveo. And if you're struggling with complexity there, that's where is a good fit. But then it's also true in the B2C space. So it's the case when you get these large multi-category retailers with really big catalogs, trying to scale out their personalization and finding merchandising really difficult, using very little AI to make that possible. We see really great success and growth there too. So those are the key kind of demographics of it, as it were, of a business that seem to fit well with us.
Great. Yeah. Most of the SAP customers, enterprise level customers, mid-level customers need this, right? Yeah. So another important things, security and data privacy are critical concerns, right, in e-commerce. I know, I mean, Coveo is using a lot of ML and AI and data from the
Mhm.
customers. How does this integration address these issues and ensure the protection of sensitive customer data, right? So there is a lot of uh, privacy policy we need to support, right? So how it is,
Yeah,
supporting, right?
yeah, yeah. So all of the relevant privacy policies within certain regions. So you've obviously got like the California one, you've got EMEA for GDPR. We handle all of those. We have to. We've got big businesses in those regions that utilize our software. And because we work with these enterprise level businesses, security and data privacy is so important to us, because that can make or break our business. So we have to be really careful when it comes to that. So in terms of where we're really strong, we're ISO 27701 certified, we're HIPAA compliant, we're SOC 2 compliant, and then from an SLA perspective, we're talking 99.999% in terms of uptime and being resilient there. So we're really strong on the security side. I won't go into it more than that, but that's something we have to be. It's
Great.
not a choice for us and our
Yeah,
customers.
of course. Yeah, that's good to know, know for the audience actually. So, what advice would you offer for the organizations considering the integrations of Coveo with e-commerce, SAP Commerce, or migrating their Solar into Coveo with SAP Commerce, right? And what best practices can they implement to maximize the benefit of these integrations?
Yeah. So I would say, in terms of, if you're thinking that you want to try something here or explore something here, I'm just going to say what I think everyone usually thinks when they go through a process like this. Starting a project, going out to market, being pitched to by X number of solution providers, it's a lengthy and quite frankly arduous process for any buyer. It can be years in the making before anything's actually signed, from ideation all the way through to it's out and in changing the customer experience. With the relatively recent era of test and learn and do things in smaller chunks and make your progress that way, I would suggest a couple of things. So firstly, we're the only search and product discovery platform that's been endorsed by SAP as an endorsed app partner. So we work very carefully with SAP to ensure their success on the Coveo side, but for the SAP customer base. That's a really important part of our platform and innovating in that space, all the way through to having that discussion through to implementation and outcomes. And I think that if you're thinking that there needs to be a change in the search and product discovery space on your e-commerce store, then try something out is my thing. Try and test and learn effectively. And if you want to see something like Coveo in action, we have something called the AI Experience Pilot. And what it is effectively a really quick and easy way to see Coveo in action. You sign up to the pilot, we put a tag on the website, we collect and we get your product catalog, we collect that information, real information from you, and then you can see what Coveo's AI models can do for your business. So then if you can place a search on the kind of pretend Coveo environment, as it were, that's based on all of your data, and you can see how much more relevant the results are. You can see how we personalize, you can see how we recommend products. So I think if I was a buyer, this is the best way to just see if something works. There's no commitment there. You just get to see if it works for your business. And if it does, then you can really kick off a project and get things moving, because you can feel more confident that this stuff actually works, rather than doing it the other way around, which is more usual.
That's a great insight actually. That will be helpful to the customers, right? So who is planning for Coveo migration. Looking to the future, what innovations or developments can we expect in the Coveo SAP Commerce integrations, and how will these continue to benefit business in the e-commerce space?
Yeah. So kind of to the point on, our idea of subscribing to innovation, we're constantly evolving at Coveo. We're speaking to customers, we're speaking to prospects, we're identifying trends and needs within the market, and we can't afford to stand still. E-commerce is one of the hottest spaces, especially when you then layer in AI as well. We have to be fast moving, and we are. But I've spoken a bit about it, how Gen AI created shockwaves throughout pretty much every industry as soon as OpenAI released their ChatGPT. And it's already been through some of its highs and lows, even though it's only been out for a very short period of time. So people had an amazing time creating content on their phones, all the way through to we've had OpenAI chatbots put on very big brands, making mistakes in the sense that like they haven't been carefully implemented. And so I'm not going to say the examples, but there are examples of brands where the chatbot has recommended another brand entirely because it is trained on all of that data and it hasn't been grounded and carefully implemented to make sure it doesn't do things like that. So in the same breath that Gen AI opens so many doors and it's so exciting, it comes with all of its risks, as any of these kind of opportunities do. And that's especially true for the enterprise, because you can't afford to make those kind of mistakes, with the kind of brands that people have. So we've created and launched some really amazing generative AI solutions. And for our customers, they are highly secure. They are grounded in their content and in their world, and they are accurate, which is the most important thing, so that a customer can get an accurate response. It's way more useful for them than being able to ask it anything as if it was ChatGPT. And that's an obvious statement to make, but just for the avoidance of doubt. So what we're doing with that ability to be secure, grounded, and accurate is enable customers to get really complex answers to their situation, and then initiate and continue with a purchase, all grounded in that brand's information. So as long as a business has really a good amount of content that can be utilized for that, because if you're grounding it, you need something to base it on. And B2B is really good for that. There's always loads. Sometimes B2C has loads, sometimes it doesn't. It depends on the industry. But it's really exciting, and it's amazing the kind of generative answer you can get from information that's been indexed, and content that's been indexed, and depending on whatever someone's question is. So I actually have an example video of that, so we could look through that now or very soon at some point, Abdul.
No, that would be great. Yeah, if you can, showcase that video, the audience, can see that, features, how it is, enabled in the Coveo. And also, a lot of customers were having concerns about the security of data, right? So when we are integrating with ChatGPT or any Gen AI. So this would be helpful. Yes. Let's show this, video to the audience. Then we can continue that.
Great.
As generative AI and LLM technologies develop, shoppers have become more demanding of brands. They expect their online experience to be intuitive, conversational, and engaging. Surpass your shoppers' evolving expectations with Coveo's Relevance Generative Answering. Tap into the power of Gen AI. Engage shoppers at every touchpoint of their journey. Leverage conversational interfaces for seamless product discovery. Showcase expertise by providing precise answers to customer questions. Show related content like recipes, how-tos, or tutorials alongside products to deliver added value. Elevate your e-commerce with Coveo's Relevance Generative Answering.
Thank you so much, Sergio. It is, the very great informative session. So the informations about the Coveo and SAP integrations which you provided, which will be very helpful for us and also to the audience and customers. And thank you so much. Thank you for being part of this event, Sergio. Now I'll be, waiting for the question from the audience side. I'll give few minutes to the audience so you can ask your questions. And Sergio and myself can answer if any, the questions from your side.